What's going on, NFL world? This is your boy Niner Gang Podcast back here with another video. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on them post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything NFL. So we already have, man, week 13 is in the books. We had a couple teams playing on Thanksgiving. We had one team play on Friday. And man, it was a great weekend. Not too many beatdowns, not too much craziness. Not a lot of quarterbacks throwing over 300 yards this week. Not a lot of receivers over 100 yards receiving, and not a lot of 100-yard rushers either. But let's take a look at the landscape of the NFL and see what exactly happened in Week 13. So I'm gonna share the screen with y'all and give y'all a little look at everything that's been happening. So first thing we do is we go to the Packers and the Lions. This was the first game for Thanksgiving. So definitely the first thing that we had to do. So first game on the docket, the Green Bay Packers come away with the win. They moved to 8-3-1. Currently, they won this game 31-24. They shut Detroit down in the first quarter and scored the rest. And then for Green Bay, they did all their scoring in the first three quarters and didn't score in the fourth. But 31-24 isn't too bad. Jordan Love had a hell of a game, 18 of 30 for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns. Didn't take a sack. And Jared Goff, he didn't do too bad himself. 20 of 26, very, very high completion percentage. 256 yards, 2 TDs. Neither team was crazy with the rushing, but 17 carries, 83 yards, 4.9 for Josh Jacobs. And it's crazy that Emmanuel Wilson wound up going down to just 4 carries when he was balling when Josh Jacobs wasn't in. So I would have probably, tried to make that a little two-back system if that was me. Jahmyr Gibbs had a very pedestrian game, 20 carries, 68 yards. That's unlike him. David Montgomery had the only lone rushing TD for the Detroit Lions. And then you come and take a look at the receiving. You know what I'm saying? Jameson Williams went off, 7 catches, 144 yards, 1 TD. And he's probably going to wind up being more of a target. We're not sure what's going on with Amon-Ra St. Brown yet. But I knew, though, he went down with an injury for a little bit. He was only targeted once. Then you got Dontayvion Wicks for the Green Bay Packers, 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 TDs. Christian Watson, 4 for 80 with 1 touchdown. And it's always crazy when it comes to the Packers because you never know who he's throwing to. He could have Christian Watson one week, got Dontayvion Wicks this week. Next week is going to be Romeo Doubs. Like, if you have fantasy receivers for the Green Bay Packers, it is a little disappointing at times because you're trying to figure out who the heck he's throwing the ball to. So with that being said, man, you come down, you take a look at the kicking. You've got Brandon McManus. He was 100%, and so was Jake Bates. At this point, it was just a situation where, hey, if you could have at least scored in the first quarter for Detroit, they would have had a shot at things, you know what I'm saying, or at least scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. They'd have had a shot at least taking this game to OT. But, hey, Packers get the win, 31-24. So they enjoy some turkey. And then you come in, you take a look at the Chiefs versus the Cowboys. Now, this game made me very happy. You know why? Because the Chiefs are now at 500 again. They are 6-6, and they are 1-5 away from home. So if the Chiefs are at home, you don't want to bet against them because they have a fantastic record. But whenever they leave, Chiefs Kingdom, so to speak, or Arrowhead, as we like to call it, they just suck. And, though this was a very, very close game, Mahomes balled out by all accounts, 23 out of 34, 261 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, though. And then, Kareem Hunt, he didn't really do much, kind of pedestrian numbers, 14 carries, 58 yards, average of 4 yards a carry, which is not bad. Then you got Rashee Rice. He had 2 of the touchdowns, along with Travis Kelce catching 1 and then Hollywood Brown catching the other one. So not a big deal. Javonte Williams did not go off like he normally does. He only had 17 carries, 59 yards. So both of these, both of the main runners, didn't even get the 60-yard mark. So that's just definitely something to keep in mind there. But when you take a look at it, CeeDee Lamb, 7 catches, 112 yards, 1 TD. George Pickens right behind him, 6 catches, 88 yards. The other TD catch was from Javonte Williams, the running back. So he wound up having what is that? 80 yards from scrimmage and a TD. So it's not bad if you're looking at fantasy numbers. A couple couple fumbles here and there. But once again, no sacks from the Kansas City defense. 6 passes defense by them, which is not a bad thing. A couple TFLs, but when it comes to the Cowboys, they got home. There were 3 sacks. He had 2 from Jadeveon Clowney. I didn't even know Clowney was on the Cowboys. Jeez. Okay, so Jadeveon Clowney had 2 sacks. Dante. See, these are names that you ain't heard in a cool minute, and that's how it's not necessarily my team, even though technically speaking, I would probably have their colors on by my shirt and whatnot, to an extent. But look at that, man. Jadeveon Clowney with 2 sacks. Dante Fowler Jr. with 2 sacks. Like, you ain't heard these names in a long, long time. For kicking, Brandon Aubrey was 100%. Harrison Butker was 100%. It's just a situation of, hey, KC didn't score in the second and third quarters. Dallas held them scoreless in 2 quarters, and that tells you right there exactly how this game wound up happening, how this game came to be. It sucks because, Dallas scored in every single quarter, but at the end of the day, they basically only, won by 3 points. So it's a close game. It's a tight game, but Matt Eberflus has his defense for Dallas playing very, very well. And like I said, it just makes me happy that the Chiefs are at 500 and closer to not being in the playoffs. Now, here's the caveat for that. With the Chiefs not in the playoffs, you have 3 different dudes that need to be in the playoffs who could win and take advantage of this. But we'll talk about that at the end. I'm going to definitely touch on that because you got to have those 3 guys in the playoffs if Pat Mahomes isn't there. If all 4 of these dudes wind up not making the playoffs, that's going to be ridiculous. But we'll take a look at things and go from there. So the final game on Turkey Day was the Bengals versus the Ravens. This was Joe Burrow, his comeback. 24-46, 261 yards, 2 TDs. He was sacked only once. Chase Brown, 15 carries, 78 yards. Samaje Perine, we ain't heard that name in a minute. 14 carries, 39 yards. Derrick Henry, only 10 carries, 60 yards, 1 TD. Keaton Mitchell, 2 for 19 with 1 touchdown. Lamar Jackson, he didn't throw any touchdowns. He was 17-32, 246 yards, 1 interception, and 3 sacks. It's very rare that you hear Lamar Jackson being sacked in the game, let alone 3 times. So that just means that Cincinnati's defense was they were getting home. So you can't be mad at that. Not much on the receiving. Isaiah Likely, 5 catches, 95 yards. Mark Andrews, 4 for 47 for the Ravens. Then you got Jamar Chase, 7 catches, 110 yards. He didn't even score. The 2 TD passes were to Andre, looks like Iosivas, and then Tanner Hudson. So Jamar Chase didn't catch TD, but he led the team in receiving. A couple of fumbles here and there. When you come in, take a look at it. The 2 sacks for the Bengals defense were from Joseph Asai. And it's crazy, man, that, you don't see much of Trey Hendrickson. You know what I mean? When, he wanted the contract, they gave him some money. So next year, we'll see if he finds a new home and gets back to kind of normal. But right now, this didn't look good to try to pad his pocket when next season comes. They had that 1 sack from Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens. The interception was from Demetrius Knight Jr. for the Bengals. So Bengals defense wasn't playing too bad. You know what I'm saying? They did what they had to do. Holding a team with 14 points is very, very good. Especially like the Ravens, they have a high-powered offense. Evan McPherson, man, 6 for 6 on his field goals, 2 for 2 on his extra point. Evan McPherson scored 20 points, people. Evan McPherson by himself. 20 out of the 32 points came from that kicker's leg. This is why I tell you, kickers matter. They help a lot. They can help you win games. Now, the thing that beat up the Ravens was the fact that they didn't score in the second or the fourth quarter. So, shout out to the Bengals defense for doing their job. Tyler Luke, he was 2 or 2 on his extra points, but other than that, it seems like they couldn't get in field goal range for him to even attempt a field goal, and I mean, hey, he was 100% on this kick, so can't be mad at him. This is something where you got to look at the Ravens offense and say what happened, but you got to also look at the Bengals defense and say, good on you for stopping such a high-powered offense. Then we go to Friday. It was the Bears versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And I picked this one correctly. I said the Bears would win, and that's exactly what they did. Bears came out and beat the Eagles 24-15. Bears scored in every quarter except for the third. Eagles scored in every quarter except for only wind up with 15 points. And you can't wind up with 15 points if all you're doing is kicking field goals. I can tell you that, but that's not the case. They scored 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts threw 2 TDs to A.J. Brown. He was 1934, 230 yards passing, 2 TDs, 1 interception. A.J. Brown led the team receiving, 10 catches, 132 yards, 2 TDs. Thank you to my fantasy team for doing your job. And then Saquon Barkley, only 13 carries, 56 yards. And I'm going to touch on him again in a second. Caleb Williams, 17 to 36, 154 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Very pedestrian numbers. He was sacked twice. Kyle Monangai, this guy comes out of nowhere, and he is awesome. 22 carries, 130 yards, 1 TD. He's a monster on the field. And the Bears did it twice. They basically didn't throw very much, and that's why you see Caleb Williams' numbers being low, because they ran the ball to 81 yards on this Philadelphia defense. 281. That's insane. And they had 2 rushers over 120 yards apiece. And that was DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. That is just insane as far as numbers go. The only touchdown pass was by Cole Kmet for them. Then you come down, you take a look at it. They had a fumble or two, but when you see it, no sacks for the Bears, only 1 TFL, just 3 passes defense. 2 sacks for Philly, 2 TFL, 7 passes defense. And then you come down, you take a look at the kicking. Cairo Santos, 100%. Jake Elliott missed a field goal. But the thing is, he missed the field goal and the extra point. So that's 4 points, so that doesn't actually help them win. But it does lessen the blow because instead of 24-15, would have been it's a heartbreaker for the Eagles because they seem to start heading on a downward trend. It's not necessarily the best for them. And then the Bears, man, they are on top of things. You know what I mean? And I do want to stop sharing the screen for just a second. People. Oh, yeah. We're going to get to that. People, do you understand that we are sitting here going into week 14 and we're stating the Bears are the #1 seed? There's not a soul on planet Earth that thought that was going to be the case. I can tell you that much. So seeing that is just flat out crazy to me. And I never would have thought that was what I would be saying, that the Bears are the #1 seed in the NFC. So you can't be mad at that. You know what I mean? You just kind of got to understand it, but it's just Brock Purdy, 168, 1 TD, only took 1 sack, 16 to 25, 149 yards, 1 TD. So both quarterbacks were pretty much in the same range, but we got to Shador 3 times more than that. And then you come in, you take a look at the rushing, not a lot from either team really. Outside of Judkins, Judkins was gashing us. I don't know why they didn't kind of go a little heavier on the run there. 23 carries, 91 yards, and 4 TDs. Not 4 TDs, 4 yards to carry. Those numbers shut them down pretty much for 3 quarters. Kind of looking at the receiving, Jawan Jennings was the only one who had a touchdown. Harold Fenton Jr., not much going on there. He was the only one with the touchdown for the Browns. You know what I'm saying? A couple of fumbles there. We recovered them, which is nice. Darrell Luter Jr. had that one. I honestly think Darrell, I don't know what he was doing. I think he just kind of got it and said go down versus getting it. I think he could have returned that for a TD when the returner muffed that punt. Lavardian or Lard, I don't know. I think that's his name, but his name is Gage. His first name is Gage. But just a couple fumbles, man. It was all bad. But Cleveland Farrell had the 2 sack. Keon White had the other one. So Keon White's working out for us fairly well. He's been doing his thing. where is his name on the list here? Bryce Huff. Yeah, I haven't even. Yeah, he had a couple of tackles, but one thing that I need the 49ers defenders to do is sell a little bit more. I don't know whether it's Robert Saleh or whether it's Chris Kaserik, but you got to sell this a little bit more, man. Like when y'all getting held, sell that, man. You know, put your hands up, make a noise, yeah, do something. But just standing there, just continually getting held and not even selling the play to be able to get the flag, it's not gonna work, man. You probably get a few more flags, at least try. I ain't saying to flop. I don't want you out there being LeBron, but you know what I'm saying, just do your thing. So Matt Gay, 100% on his kicks, 2 of 2 field goals, 2 of 2 on extra points. Cleveland didn't kick because they went for the 2-point conversion. They basically were trying a lot. Pedestrian numbers for Shedeur Sanders. You know, when it comes to this game, it's definitely a little rough. You know, he's coming along. He's learning. He wasn't, you know, overly great by any stretch of the imagination, but he did what he could. You know what I mean? A fairly balanced game plan. We both had the ball, I think, you know, almost 30 minutes each. So nobody was controlling a lot. Dylan Gabriel came in and completed the pass, but it was behind the line of scrimmage, and then had to turn around and walk right back out because when Shedeur went down, he has to go out technically for one play, and he came right back in. So he tapped him on the shoulder. Dylan didn't even know and was far away from the huddle. So it kind of is what it is. But I did state that I was going to talk about Saquon Barkley. And this is what I'm saying. I've said this before, and I will continually say it. The Madden curse is real. Okay? You have one of two things. You either have an injury-riddled season or you have a bad season. This is a regression season for Saquon Barkley. It's a bad season. That man is not doing what he did last year. He's not running like he did last year. And people, everybody says, no, man, that Madden curse ain't real. You know, this is, look at the numbers for each person that's been on there. Take a look and see when you start looking at those covers. And I think this kind of started more so mainly, you know, when they started putting players on there. I believe it was in the 2000s when they started having the Madden cover be an actual player. Matter of fact, let me look that up. So I'm looking it up right now. Okay, so the first player ever featured on the Madden cover was Barry Sanders in 2000. Yep, so this was definitely it. So that tells you right there, since 2000, you've had guys who wind up having different types of seasons, doing different things. You know what I mean? You could go through the years and take a look at these dudes and see and look at what happened and look at their numbers the year before, or, you know, look at the fact that they were healthy. There's a variety of different things. But that's basically what happened. And we moved to the Jags and the Titans. And this was a beatdown. Definite beatdown. 25-3. They broke them off. Titans scored in the first quarter on a field goal and didn't score again. Jags defense held it down in ways you cannot imagine. That is just simply put. Basically, you know, Trevor Lawrence, 16-27, 229 yards, 2 TDs. He was sacked 3 times. Cam Ward, 24-38, 141 yards. No TDs, no interceptions, but he was sacked 3 times. ETN the rushing was just pedestrian from both sides. Tony Pollard was averaging 6 yards a carry, but it doesn't make sense to me how that man was averaging 6 yards a carry and y'all stayed away from him. His long was 15. So you take away, that's 45. That's still, you know, almost 4 or 5 yards a carry. So I don't know how you can see this dude gashing a defense and then just act like he don't exist. And then when I don't know who half these receivers are outside of Tajay Spears and Van Jefferson. The rest of these dudes are worthless. So for Tennessee, this is what you need to do. Your draft needs to be wide receivers and offensive linemen. That's what you need to do. Y'all need to get some wide receivers, some offensive linemen, whether you go in free agency and make some moves for alignment because you want to try to get some vets in there, whether you go to the draft and get the linemen, do that. And same thing for the wide receivers. You need to get this man some help because he is over there drowning with no help and nothing around him. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. Jacoby Myers for the Jags, 6 catches, 90 yards, 1 TD. Brenton Strange, 3 catches, 45 yards, 1 touchdown. You come in, you take a look at the, you know, the Jags defense. Josh Allen, two sacks. Austin Johnson, he had 1. You come over, you take a look at the Tennessee Titans defense, Kevin Winston and Jeffrey Simmons, along with Jihad Ward. They both, all three of those dudes had 1 sack individually. Cam Little was 100% on his kicks. Same thing for Joey Slye, but Joey Slye only kicked 1 time because other than that, that tells me that the Titans were never in field goal range and they were never a threat to score a touchdown. So that's the reason why you don't see, much more from him. So then you move down. You got the Texans and the Colts. I picked this one correctly. And the Colts are starting to slide, man. You know what I'm saying? I think they're on a 2 or 3 game losing streak right now. And that's not good because they started off super hot. Currently right now, the Texans is 7-5 and they are rolling. CJ Stroud came back, had himself a good game, 22 of 35, 276. He didn't throw a touchdown. He was sacked twice and he threw an interception. But you know what I'm saying? He came back and he did all right. Davis Mills was looking good while he was gone, so they almost have a low-key similar situation to what the Niners have, where they got a good backup and they got a good starter. And oddly enough, Brock Purdy in his first game back didn't necessarily look so good, and C.J. Stroud didn't look so good. He kind of got to knock the rust off and just keep moving forward. And then Daniel Jones, 14 passes, 201 yards, 2 TDs. He was only sacked once. You come and take a look at the rushing. Neither team was, world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. Jonathan Taylor, he's averaging 4 yards a carry, 21 carries, 85 yards. Woody Marsh was the leader for the Texans with 19 carries, 64 yards. Nick Chubb scored a touchdown. Nico Collins scored a rushing touchdown as well. You look at it, of course, Nico Collins leading receiving as well. And then Alec Pierce, he had a receiving touchdown. Tyler Warren had one as well. Then you take a look at it. The lone sack was from Sheldon Rankins. And then you look at the Indianapolis Colts, and you had, we're going to call him Double A. He's number 95. He had a sack. And then we had Chris Wormley. He had a sack. So it's just different things. And then Kaimi Fairburn, he was 100% on his kicks. And Michael Badgley, he made his kicks but missed an extra point. But either way, like I said, extra point wouldn't make a difference. So that's what wound up happening. But shout out Houston's defense, man. They are balling out of control. They are really, really doing their thing. Saints and the Dolphins, picked this one correctly too. I went with the Dolphins. Saints, Tyler Show, 26-38, 239 yards, 2 TDs. Tua Tagovailoa, 12 out of 23. He had 157 yards, an interception, and was sacked 4 times. But Devon Achane ran wild, 22 carries, 134 yards, 1 TD. Their rushing was pretty pedestrian. Don't even see Alvin Kamara on here. I wonder if he's hurt. Devon Vele, 1 touchdown, 8 catches, 93 yards. Chris Olave, 4 for 47 with 1 TD. And I know a lot of teams before the trade deadline were calling for Chris Olave, and they wouldn't give him up. Pedestrian numbers receiving when it comes for the Dolphins. Then you take a look at it for the sacks for the Saints. Chase Young had a sack. Cam Jordan had 2. Brian Brees had 1. And you look at the Dolphins and Chop Robinson along with Zeke Biggers. That was a sack and a half sack. And then you got the other sack from Bradley Chubb and Minkah Fitzpatrick. So you see those things, and there you go. Rasul Douglas with the interception, Kool-Aid McKinstry with the interception. And then you take a look at the kicking, 100% for Charlie Smythe and 100% for Riley Patterson. You know what I'm saying? So this was just a situation where New Orleans didn't know how to score in the first half. They just couldn't do anything with that defense from Miami. Second half, they started figuring things out, but it just wasn't good enough. And Miami scored in every quarter except for the third. So that just tells you, that there's just sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. And that definitely lets you know that the Dolphins are doing okay, but they definitely ain't making the playoffs. Neither are the Saints. We all know that already. So we'll keep moving. Falcons versus the Jets. This was pretty much a battle of 2 bad teams. Jets pick up the win. They are moved to 3-9. Jets didn't score in the first quarter, but they scored in every other quarter. And it was the same thing for the Falcons. So both of them scored in every quarter, except for the first. Just the Falcons came out taking the L. Jets came out taking the win. Kirk Cousins, 21-33, 234 yards, 1 TD. Tyrod Taylor, 19-33, 5.2 yards, 1 TD. Bijan Robinson, 23 carries, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Algier had a touchdown. Same thing for Breece Hall. Wow, these numbers are strikingly similar. Brees Hall had a touchdown. Tyrod Taylor had a touchdown. And then you look at the receiving. David Sills, the fifth. I don't even know what that is. He had one touchdown. And then you got Adonai Mitchell. He had 8 catches, 102 yards, and 1 TD. Then you take a look at it. The sacks were from James Pierce and Leonard Floyd for the Atlanta defense. And then you've got Tony Adams along with Michael Clemens. They had a sack each. Kicking for Atlanta, this was not 100%. And this is why I say kickers matter. Because all you needed was one extra kick from Zane Gonzalez, and that puts them into OT at a bare minimum. But you know what I'm saying? And then for the Jets, if Nick Folk makes his other kick, that pushes you to a point where they can't get him to OT. So different strokes for different folks, different situations. But hey, look at that. Just a couple of field goals could have put this game either into OT or put it out of range. And you take a look at the Cardinals versus the Bucs. The Bucs pick up the win. And I believe this eliminates the Cardinals from the playoffs or playoff contention in any way, shape, or form, even if they went out, because it's 12. So, yeah, it's 5 games left. Yeah, you would only wind up at 8 and 9. It's not going to be good enough. And then basically both teams could score in the first quarter. They scored the rest, and Bucs just came out with the W. Baker Mayfield, 18 of 28, 194 yards, 1 TD, sacked twice. Jacoby Brissett, 29 of 40, 301 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. And then you've got Bam Knight, 11 carries, 62 yards. Michael Carter, 5 catches, 5 carries, 17 yards. A couple runs by Jacoby Brissett. And then Bucky Irving is back for the Bucs. 17 carries, 61 yards, 1 TD. You come and take a look at the receiving. Trey McBride, 8 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. Bam Knight had the other receiving TD. And Tristan Wirfs caught the only touchdown thrown by Baker Mayfield. He did check into the game, and that's what they call on the NFL Network, big man with football. So the 2 sacks from the Cardinals came from Josh Sweat. And then for the Bucs, it was Vita Vea and Yaya Diaby. Vita Vea is just timeless. This dude he just doesn't get old. I don't understand what it is. Only interception was from Antoine Winfield Jr. Kicking here. Once again, kickers matter, people. Look at this. If Chad Ryland makes that field goal, you at least have overtime. Kickers matter. That tells you, man, sometimes these dudes got to be on point, and you got to hope and pray that they do it. But part of those things happen. This game made me happy as well. So, both of the teams, 2 teams in the NFC West won, 2 teams lost. So the 49ers won, Seahawks won, but the Rams and the Cardinals both take L's. Now, the Rams taking an L kind of helps a little bit because that brings them down to 9-3, and we are currently 9-4. So it definitely happens. The Rams scored in every quarter except for the third, and the Panthers scored in every single quarter. Bryce Young, I'm about to say C.J. Stroud. I always confuse them too. I don't know why. Excuse me. But C.J. Stroud, 15 of 20, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was sacked twice. Not bad, man. You can't be too mad at it. Matthew Stafford, 18 of 28, 243 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. He was sacked twice. One of those interceptions was the pick 6. And the thing is Matthew Stafford hadn't thrown an interception in I don't know how many weeks. So this is definitely not like him. And I don't think this is going to be a trend for him. I mean, I would hope so, because the Rams could lose a couple more games. We can wind up taking number 1 seed in the NFC West, and push them down. But it is what it is. That's just me being a homer and wanting any team in my division to be losers and us to be the winners. It's just how it works. But once again, don't think it's a trend for him. I think it was just an anomaly. Just things happen. So Blake Corum, 7 carries, 81 yards, 1 TD. Kyron Williams, 13 carries, 72 yards, 1 TD. So their run game was working. There was nothing. This was a close game. If they at least get a field goal in the third quarter, boom, you wind up going into OT. At a bare minimum, Chuba Hubbard, 17 for 83. Rico Dowdle, 18 for 58. You take a look at the receiving. Both TDs were from Devontae Adams. And then for the Carolina, you had Jalen Coker, Techatora McMillan, and Chuba Hubbard all caught 3 touchdown passes. Of course, you come down, you take a look at the sacks, and the Rams got a sack from Byron Young and another one from Braden Fisk. And then when you look at the Panthers, it was Lathan Ransom and Derek Brown. Then you take a look at the interceptions. It was Mike Jackson and Nick Scott. Mike Jackson was the one who took it back, and told Matthew Stafford there to beat it. No one wants to feel defeated. And Harrison Mevis, he was 100% on his extra points, but never got in the field goal range. And that's what you have to do. If you could have got this guy in the field goal range, he kicks it, y'all go to OT. And then once again, for the Panthers, Ryan Fitzgerald, he was 100%. But hey, Panthers get the win after we had just beaten them last week. So that's a good thing for us. Seattle versus Minnesota. Beat down upon beat down. This makes you cry. It does. So I don't know who this guy is, but I believe Carson Wentz was hurt. JJ McCarthy was hurt. So they had to get somebody. So pick up this guy, Max Brosman. And he proceeds to go out there and have one of the worst games in the NFL in week 13. That man was 19 to 34, 126 yards and 4 interceptions to go along with 4 sacks. His QBR was 5.6. This is insane. Like, what? Yeah, I guarantee you they're looking for a veteran. I'd go pull Kurt Warner off NFL Network before I let this man throw another pass in the league. That was horrible. That's the worst output I've seen all season from any quarterback. Sam Darnold, 14 to 26, only 128 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. And he was sacked 4 times. So that's very pedestrian numbers for him. Extremely pedestrian. You never see Sam Darnold with numbers that low. Along with the fact that he did throw at least a touchdown, definitely crazy. Minnesota obviously got donuted. They didn't score at all. Seattle scored in every quarter except for the first. But it looks like we had a kicker-type game here. And that's what it is. Zach Charbonnet only had the 1 rushing touchdown. Loving having him on my fantasy team because he always gets me a TD. Shout out UCLA. I know we lost the rivalry game to punk-ass Trojans, but it is what it is. They're better at us in football. We're better at them in basketball. It's always how it's been. And then you take a look at the receiving for both teams. Very, very pedestrian numbers. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who lives in 100-yard receiving. Like, it's every week. That man had 2 catches on 4 targets for 23 yards. So even though Minnesota lost this game, their defense was doing everything they could. Their offense was just horrid. And then, of course, look at all these fumbles. You got several fumbles from both teams. This is insanity. Both teams had 4 sacks. So you had Dallas Turner for the Vikings, Eric Wilson, Andrew Van Ginkel. Then you go over to the Seahawks, and you got Drake Thomas and Nwosu. And then you got Byron Murphy with 1, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, and then for the interceptions, Ernest Jones got him twice. Reek Woolen got him once. And Kobe Bryant got him once. And then Ernest Jones took it to the house 1 time. So that tells you the 2 touchdowns, that's only 14 points. So the other 12 had to come off the leg of Jason Myers. 4 out of 4 on his field goals, 2 of 2 on his extra points. Hey, man, kickers matter. When things ain't working, as long as you get into field goal range, you should be able to rely on that dude to go out there, kick the ball, do his job, and get some points. He had 14 points. It worked out well. You can't be mad at it. So this was definitely an anomaly of a game, but definitely a beatdown, man. Vikings just getting their butts handed to them. And I can tell you right now, Justin Jefferson I know he was sitting on the sidelines going, man, I miss Sam. I miss Sam so much. I really do. He probably might be calling Sam in the offseason going, hey, look, man, I want to get up out of here, man. Talk to your people, see if they can get me over there with you. Because I can tell you right now, if you put Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Justin Jefferson out there, you're screwed. As a defense, that gives you fits. You have nightmares. As a defensive coordinator, you're not going to get any sleep tonight before because you don't know who the game plan for. And you got Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker the third back there too. I'm just saying it would make their offense a lot better. Because Cooper Kupp is looking very pedestrian. So really quick, I'm going to go back to this game, and then I'll move forward. the reason, I was stating this about Saquon Barkley is the man is having that regression. Once again, pay close attention. Lots of regression. 2,000 yards last year, and I don't even know where he is this year, but we'll talk about it. Box score for the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo gets to win 26-7. Buffalo didn't score in the first, but they scored in every other quarter. And Pittsburgh only seemed to outscore in the second quarter. Every other quarter, Buffalo's defense shut them down. 15-23, 123 yards. 1 TD, 1 interception. Very pedestrian numbers for Josh Allen. Same thing for Aaron Rodgers. 10-21, 117 yards. What? Just doesn't look good. But for the rushing, James Cook, 32 carries, 144 yards. He was balling. Josh Allen had 1 rushing TD to go along with his passing touchdown. And then you got Jaylen Warren. He only had the 1 rushing touchdown for them. Mason Rudolph, I think he came in relief and wound up throwing an interception, which definitely doesn't help. When it comes to receiving, Keon Coleman had that 1 touchdown pass from Josh Allen. And then you take a look at the defensive stuff. The only sack was Joey Bosa. I'm surprised. I ain't heard his name and the word sack in the same sentence in a long time. A couple TFLs for the Pittsburgh defense, few passes defense, but nothing really. Then you have Brandon Echols. He got the interception from Josh Allen. And then Benford got the interception from Mason Rudolph. You take a look at the kicking, 100% from Matt Prater. Sorry, not 100% from Matt Prater. He missed 1 of the extra points, but it doesn't make a difference. That just makes it a 20-point win versus a 19-point win. Basically, Chris Boswell, all he could do was kick that 1 extra point because they never got in the field goal range, obviously, for that. But there you go, man. Beat down. Bills came in there and came into Steeler country and punched them right in the mouth. Then you got an AFC West battle with the Raiders versus the Chargers. Chargers pick up the win. Keeping their playoff hopes alive. They are currently 8-4, and I believe second in the AFC West, right behind the AFC West leading Denver Broncos. And then you have the Raiders. They're at the bottom of the AFC West as they always are. They just can't figure it out. So Raiders couldn't score in the first or third quarters, and the Chargers didn't score in the second quarter, but they scored in every other quarter. You had Justin Herbert go down for just a second. Then Trey Lance came in, completed a quick pass, and then Herbert was right back in. But Herbert 15-20, 151 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, 3 sacks, very pedestrian numbers. Same thing for Geno Smith, 18-23, 165 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. There's a Raiders content creator on Facebook that is hilarious. He put up a little short about things that he would trust before the Raiders. And believe me, these are some very precarious things that he is speaking of, but all of it was negative, and it was just like Geno Smith is just that bad. So Aston Genty, 15 carries, 31 yards. That's horrible. Kamani Vidal, 25 for 126. Fantastic. Jared Patterson, 11-54, 1 TD. Fantastic. Both of those dudes scored touchdowns. Then you got Brock Bowers leading the way. 4 catches, 63 yards, 2 TDs. You know what I mean? Brock Bowers is definitely a formidable talent when it comes to being a tight end receiver. Ladd McConkey caught a touchdown. Quentin Johnston caught a touchdown. You take a look at the sacks. There were 5 of them. So you had, lots of half sacks here. So you had half sack from Khalil Mack, Deion Henley, Derwin James, and Deshaun Hand. And then Bud Dupree got 1, and the other 2 came from Tuli Pulotu. That's what I'm going to say. I think that's as good as it's going to get on that one. The rest of the pronunciation I'm going to suck on. Cameron Dicker was 100%. Daniel Carson was 100%. But this was just a game where the Chargers were better than the Raiders, and proves to them why they live at the bottom of the AFC West, let alone the AFC in general. Coming to the Sunday night game, Broncos versus the Commanders. This was definitely a barn burner, 27-26. Very, very close game. So the Broncos scored in every quarter except for the fourth. And then the Commanders scored in every quarter except for the first. They wound up going to OT, and the Broncos get to win. Obviously, there was a field goal there to be able to make things work out, or something to that effect. But you got Marcus Mariota, 28-50, 294 yards, 2 TDs. And then you got him leading the team, rushing 10 for 55. Bo Nix, 20 out of 45, 321 yards. He only had 1 TD, 1 interception. He was sacked as well. RJ Harvey, 13 carries, 35 yards, 2 TDs. That worked out well for them. Cortland Sutton had the only touchdown receiving, and Scary Terry McLaurin and Treylon Burks had the touchdowns receiving for the Commanders. This was definitely a tight game, hard-fought game. You see all the fumbles and things of that nature that were going on. The couple sacks you got were for DeAndre Tillman and Nick Bonito for the Denver Broncos. And then when you look over Frankie Louvu, he had that one lone sack for them. You can come down, take a look at the kicking. Will Lutz, Hundo, and Jake Moody, Hundo. So all day, Jake Moody's just bouncing around, man. First he was with the Bears, now he's with the Commanders. So, I mean, hey, you got to bounce around to kind of rebuild your career and, come back up. That's cool. You got to do what you got to do there. So it's definitely a few things going on there, but this was a barn burner. Great game for Sunday Night Football, very close. Took it down to the wire, but at the end of the day, the Broncos are the victors. Then you go to Monday Night Football, Giants versus the Patriots. We all knew the Patriots were going to win this game. This was a foregone conclusion in all of our minds. Giants didn't score in the first or the third quarter. Patriots scored in every quarter except for the third. 33-15 is the score. Patriots move to 11-2 and stay atop of the AFC period. They are the number one seed. Jackson Dart, 17-24, 139 yards, 1 TD. He was sacked twice. He had 4 carries for 20 yards as well. Devin Singletary, 12 carries, 68 yards, 5.7 yards to carry, 1 touchdown. Drake May, 24-31, 282 yards, 2 TDs. Then Travion Henderson, you got 11 carries, 67 yards. Then Rodamore Stevenson, 12 for 40. You come down, you take a look at the receiving, very pedestrian numbers. Darius Slayton had a touchdown for the Giants. And then Keyshawn Boot and Kyle Williams both had touchdowns for the New England Patriots. You come in, you take a look at it. There was 1 fumble, and then it was recovered. The fumble was by the Giants, recovered by the New England Patriots. And the 2 sacks came from Harold Landry and Elijah Ponder for the Patriots. And then for New York, the 3 sacks came from Zaire Barnes, Dane Belton, and Abdul Carr. Their number 1 pick. Then you come and you take a look at the kicking. Youngko Ho was 100%, but he could only do one thing because that's all he was asked to do. And then you look at Andy Borregales. He was almost 100%. They would have pushed this to 36-15 if he'd have made that extra field goal. But either way, it doesn't make a difference. The game is still won. So this was just a beatdown of sorts when it comes down to it, and that is basically what it looks like. So let's take a look at the standings in the playoff picture. So we're going to see exactly what's going on with that as far as that's concerned, because we want to take a look at the playoff picture. Just in general, I don't know what happened to the playoff picture, but that's definitely not what I wanted. So let's just go standings. We'll just do it that way, and then I can just do playoff like that. Boom. All right, so currently right now, as it stands, heading into week 14 of the NFL season, number 1 seed in the AFC is the New England Patriots at 11-2. Right behind them on their heels is the Denver Broncos at 10-2. Jacksonville Jaguars at 8-4. Baltimore Ravens are leading their division at 6-6. So then we have right after that, for everything else, we've got the Chargers at 8-4, Colts at 8-4, Buffalo Bills at 8-4. And the Houston Texans are still in this fight. They are on, the Buffalo Bills behind as far as that goes. So when you take a look at it, the Texans have a little bit better of a situation because they have a better conference record than the Colts or the Bills. They're 6-2, where the Colts are 6-3, and then the Buffalo Bills are 5-3 in conference, and that matters a lot. So when you take a look at that AFC playoff picture, it's fairly tight. Kansas City on the outside looking in, but they do still have a shot to be able to possibly make the playoffs. They got to start winning some games, otherwise they wind up looking bad. And then, as you can see at the bottom of the barrel, you have the Jets, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Titans. The Raiders and the Titans are eliminated from playoff contention, so I would just leave it be. I wouldn't even waste my time. I know that the Cleveland Browns are not, but the best they could do at this point is 8-9. Either way, the Jets just shut it down, and the Bengals, if they wind up getting eliminated from playoff contention, I would just sit Joe Burrow. But They feel like they may have a little bit of hope. You know what I'm saying? They're 4-8. They could get to 9-8, but they'd have to rip off a 5-game winning streak from starting now. Then you flip over to the NFC. Like I said, it's definitely a different world when you see the Chicago Bears as the number 1 seed. But the Bears are number 1 seed, Rams are number 2, Eagles at 3, and Tampa Bay at 4. All of these are obviously the division leaders for their respective divisions. Then you got Seattle, Green Bay, and San Francisco. And all of us are right there kind of in lockstep with everyone. San Francisco is only down below those teams, just due to the fact that I think the tie helps the Packers in some way, shape, or form, which to me doesn't make any damn sense. But that's just my, biased opinion. And then you've got Tampa Bay, they're just leading their division. There's, Seattle, they're just right behind the Rams, at 9-3 because we are 9-4. So then right after that, you've got, the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Panthers all still in the hunt here. Definitely have an option for a fight. And then at the bottom of the barrel, you got the Giants and you got the Saints. They are eliminated from playoff contention. They will not make it, along with the Arizona Cardinals. So we now know that the NFC West could possibly produce 3 playoff teams. That's crazy. But at this point, the Cardinals are done. So I don't think they're going to put Kyler Murray back in. I do believe they're looking to cut ties with Kyler Murray. They wasted their time paying that man, giving them all that money, and they never should have, because he never did anything for them. It wasn't going to do anything for them. The Washington Commanders aren't eliminated from playoff contention, but they pretty much are. Nothing's happening with them. I don't think the Falcons or the Vikings are going to do much of anything. I would say 1 through 10, that's where the fight is. But the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Saints, all of these people, all they can do at this point is try to spoil playoff seeding for other teams. Other than that, it's over. It's over for them. You know what I mean? So that's basically your standings and, as far as the playoffs are concerned. But when you take a look at it, from the AFC East, Buffalo and New England definitely, make the playoffs. From the AFC North, it is still a very tight race. You know what I'm saying? The Browns and the Ravens are definitely very, very tight. So looks like Buffalo may still make it. Looks like Baltimore may make it if they continue to keep winning. But they took that L to the Bengals this week. That was a divisional loss, so that's definitely not a good thing. But then you come in, you take a look at the Jags. You got the Colts. You got the Texans. So the AFC South might be like the NFC West and produce 3 playoff teams in that of itself. Because I tell you right now, don't sleep on the Texans. They coming, and that defense is real, for real, for real. And then you've got the Denver Broncos and the Chargers. You definitely kind of see them making the playoffs with their records and the way that things are going for them. And then you come down, you take a look at it, the NFC East. If Philly don't start getting back to their winning ways, they can wind up flipping and losing the division to the Cowboys. You got the Bears and the Packers. Very, very tight race along with the the Detroit Lions. This is a very tight race. It's literally just a couple games separate these teams. 7-5 for the Lions, 8-3 for the Packers, and then 9-3 for the Bears. So that's definitely a lot. And then look at this race right here in the South. You're only going to get one team out of here to go to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure of that. But the Bucs and the Panthers are right there lockstep with each other. The only difference is the Panthers have lost one more game. You know what I'm saying? And they're both 5-3 in conference. Only thing is they're 2-1 in division, so that's why the Bucs get the nod. So, they got to keep working hard. And as I said, the NFC West is lockstep with 3 9-win teams. 3 9-win teams. So technically right now in the NFC, we are literally the best division. Minus the bum-ass Cardinals who always wind up screwing it up. And look at that. If you flip the Cardinals' wins and losses, we would be the best division in football, period. There wouldn't be one better. But as of right now, the 49ers are the best. The NFC West is the best division in football when it comes to wins and losses. But these are the standings, you know what I'm saying? So that was just a recap for week 13 of the NFL. Definitely, leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Hit that like and subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and I'll be back with a preview game next week. This week I won't have much going on. I'll just have the recaps of the other games because 49ers finally have a bye. It took 50 years, but we finally got a bye. And then when we come off that bye, well rested, feeling better and having a chance to kind of, take a little time off of any ailments that were bothering us, we get the Titans. So it's gonna be a real easy situation, man. That's an easy dub. Let me check if we are at the Titans or at home. I think we're at home when it comes down to this next game, but I'm just going to double check. And we are currently on a 3-game win streak. Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, we're at home. Yep, we're at home. We're at home versus Titans, and then after that we go to the Colts, and then mid-December we go to the Bears. So hey man, I'm not mad at that. Looks like everything is working out well. But that is the recap for Week 13 of the NFL. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend, and continue to keep this going. I'm trying to keep pushing it up. Got to that 600 mark. Thank you so much. Head for that 700 mark, man. I appreciate any and everybody for tuning in. This is your boy Not a Game Podcast signing off, saying be up, stay faithful, stay blessed. Have a wonderful day.